Hey guys, welcome
Hey.
back to another episode of Cocktails with Curt. As you see, we have a special guest here, but before we get into introductions here, I just want to make sure I give a shout out to one of our followers. It is Sylvia Powell Madden who recommended the Grey Homes ATL Mojito.
Thanks, Sylvia. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
That's a fine mojito.
Yes.
Thanks,
Nice
Sylvia.
job, Curt.
Well, as you see, we do have a special guest here. A lot of you guys have reached out and been asking all types of financial questions and what you should expect from the lending process. So what we did was we brought the heavy artillery here. We have Mark Scarratt from Fidelity Mortgage,
Yes.
who's here to answer a lot of the burning questions and repeat questions. I'd like this to add to that that you guys have sent to us. So, Mark, welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming by. We got the mojitos. We got a little cheese and crackers here, olives. You have a guest. You have to do it up here. So, Mark, tell us a little bit, or tell the people out there a little bit about your background, and we'll get into a little bit about how we introduce you to our clients.
Well, I'm an Atlanta native. I've lived here my whole life. This is my 35th year in the mortgage business. Couldn't say I know everything, but I've seen an awful lot of scenarios, and I think I'm pretty good at figuring out ways to get people in homes. I've always looked at it as I try to give people the advice that I would give myself if I was in their scenario, but I like to help folks get into homes.
Yeah, Mark has helped a lot of, probably dozens at this point, of our clients. He closed, I think, on the last 3 or 4 for us.
Yep.
We've done a combination of FHA, conventional, a lot of VAs recently as well. So we'll delve a little bit deeper into that. But
I think before we get into the loans and
Yeah.
on all of that stuff, because I know we have a lot of time to talk and a lot of alcohol to drink. So, why don't we kind of start with something basic, Mark? So a lot of times we get asked, what is the pre-approval process, and why do I need to go through it? Because hey, I know that I have a good job, I know how much money I make. So a lot of times people think that they know what they can afford. You want to let them know really what the pre-approval process provides?
Sure. I mean, there's different ways to do a pre-approval, and it does not cost you anything. I prefer to do them over the phone or in person. There are many opportunities to do an online application, but I think it's real easy to miss something. So usually a pre-approval takes 15 to 20 minutes over the phone.
That's it?
That's it, really.
Yes,
Wow.
that's correct.
Wow.
So you don't have to be scared to get that process started. It sounds like.
Yeah, we've had people hit us up and like, oh, this is going to take a couple days, or is it going to take 24 hours? We always tell people it only takes like 15, maybe 30 minutes, depending on how complicated.
It's not long.
And tell a little bit about what's the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval.
Well, the pre-qualification and pre-approval are really the same term.
Yeah.
And it's pretty powerful. I mean, all lenders are going to use software to get an initial pre-approval. So that's one of the reasons I think it's important for the loan officer to take the information with the client.
Okay.
Because if you put the information in correctly and you get an approval, it's pretty strong. We've still got to get an appraisal, but if you get a pre-approval that's been through the automated underwriting, it's a very high chance you're going to get the loan. We just get backup like pay stubs and stuff to make sure that the income we're using is correct.
Okay, and talk a little bit about, so you got your pre-approval. Talk a little bit about some of the things that people are going to need to provide for that pre-approval. Talk about a little bit about credit, income, like what you guys are looking for.
Well, with the pre-approval, we're going to go back 2 years on where you've lived and where you've worked. So if you have the name and address, your job history, to go back 2 years, that's all we need to go back. That's helpful. You're going to need your social security number. You can do a pre-approval with another person or a spouse. They don't necessarily have to be on the phone, but we would need their social security number, birthday, and their job history.
So something about job history specifically, you said you go back 2 years in history.
Yes.
So what is the scenario for someone that is relocating to Georgia? They have a new job lined up that they haven't started yet, but they've accepted the job offer. They had a steady work history, but this will be new employment. Are they eligible or would they qualify for a mortgage at least at a pre-approval?
Sure, it doesn't need to be 2 years in Georgia at all.
Okay.
I mean, if you worked in another state in a similar or same profession and you've got a job in Georgia, the only thing is they generally want you to be on that job for a full pay period, which is 30 days. So you could actually write a contract if it was closing more than 30 days out, you're fine. But if you start a new job and a new area, they usually want a couple of pay stubs.
So in that scenario, they might have to stay with a relative or an extended stay place for at least 2 pay cycles, 2 paychecks, pretty much.
Now, a job transfer, that's not necessary.
Job transfer.
If you're with a company and they transfer you to Georgia, we don't have to wait for 2 pay stubs.
And what would you need in that scenario?
Just a letter of transfer.
Okay.
The company will provide something saying we're relocating this client to Georgia. His pay's the same, or however it changes.
Gotcha. Okay, so now that in that scenario, they've been pre-approved, talk a little bit about what they can expect from you. Do you have a team of people? Will you still be hands-on? Will it be I know that people have heard terms like loan processor, underwriter. Could you talk a little bit about what happens once you hand the contract over to you guys,
Sure.
what that process is like?
Well, the loan officer needs to stay involved the entire process. But we have
Not
people
all do, but Mark does.
we have people that help us. Like the loan processor, that person's job is primarily to make sure that we have all the documents we need from you to send it to the underwriter.
Okay.
An assistant will just kind of help with answering questions that maybe if I'm busy. But for the most part, most of the communication is going to be with me.
With you.
You'll get emails from the processor. I generally am going to tell you what we need up front,
Okay.
but if the processor notices something that maybe she thinks we need, she'll reach out to you directly.
And some documents people typically have to pull together. Would you say like bank statements?
It
401ks?
varies, but it's generally going to be a couple of years of W-2s,
Okay.
30 days worth of pay stubs, and a couple of months of bank statements. If you're
not bad.
self-employed, you need the tax returns in addition to the W-2s.
Okay. Now, also talk a little bit about the appraisal and how that works, and maybe who's responsible for that payment, that kind of a thing during the process.
Sure. Lenders, the rules, the laws that govern are we have to disclose to you, we have to send you the forms to sign, and it's generally electronic. But once you acknowledge that, we can order the appraisal. Now, all lenders that I've worked for will collect the money from you for the appraisal up front.
And how much does that typically run?
It varies some, but it's for the appraisal and credit report, it's generally around $525.
So plan on that.
But you get that if the seller pays your closing costs, you get a credit for that back at closing, similar to earnest money.
Okay. Anything
Well,
else?
I was gonna say this is my show.
Yes,
And
sorry
the
for
fact
taking
that
it
you've
over.
been asking all the questions over here. You know,
I guess I'll be behind the bar in the next video.
you
Good
you
questions,
Might,
though.
you might not even be in the video for the next one. It's still up for debate. But no, I think these are all good questions. These are all ones that
We get a lot.
We get a lot of. One of the myths, I think a lot of people have fear of. They worked really hard getting their credit score up, and we all know that every time you get an inquiry, that you lose a couple of points.
Right.
But there's all these different time frames that people say, oh, if you get enough hits in a week, you only lose 5 points. Can you dispel what that myth is in terms of if folks really want to shop around for the best rates, but they're afraid that they don't want to keep getting things against their credit?
Yeah.
Is there truth to the fact that if they do that in a small window of time, they're not impacted with each inquiry?
Well, I think there's a lot of misinformation about it because a lot of clients are very concerned.
Yeah.
First of all, your credit won't be pulled unless I ask you, is it okay to pull credit? So you don't have to worry about like a car dealer where we're just going to pull your credit. You're going to know it. Now, from the time that the first mortgage lender pulls your credit report, you have 45 days to shop for a mortgage.
45 days,
Other
guys.
lenders can pull it without affecting your credit report. Now,
Good to know.
if they group lenders, so if a mortgage lender pulls it and then you have a car person, it can.
Yeah.
But as long as it's a mortgage lender, you've got time to have your credit pulled without it affecting your credit.
Okay.
And I think that's really good because I know that, we always encourage, our clients and our leads to shop around for the best rates because, not every lender offers the same programs.
Sure.
They don't always, they should have, in the same ballpark in terms of the rate, but sometimes some are a little higher, some are a little lower. So I think that's always been sort of a point of contention that folks feel like they just don't want to keep losing points. So I think thanks for, for clearing that up for
Well, everybody gets a certain amount of inquiries a year for free. So, if you haven't been using that, it's not going to affect you anyway. It's only multiple inquiries that can affect your credit.
And how have you seen, we get this a lot too, they use tools like Credit Karma, tools like that, and then they go for a mortgage and it's like 20%
Totally
higher.
different
Yeah,
than what
20
they-
points higher, 20 points
Right.
lower. Explain a little bit in the mortgage industry since you've been in it. Like, how is it a different algorithm and the tools that you have to help people improve their credit?
Well, the key thing is with Credit Karma in most places, you're going to get a consumer credit report.
Okay.
Lenders have a lender credit report, which has some additional criteria. Credit Karma is a real good indication, but I can tell you there's been many reports I've pulled where the person's actual report was higher.
Really?
But and some that are lower, but they're usually pretty close. If Credit Karma says you're a 673, you're probably going to be within 10 to 15 points either way with your real score.
And also too, isn't it also true that it's not always just about the score, that there might be things that as you're going through the underwriting process, they might want you to explain or clear up things that might have been like in dispute. Talk a little bit about, it's not always just about the score, but you still have to, why it's important to pull that report with a lender to really analyze that report.
Well, the disputes is an important topic because with most forms of financing, if you've disputed things, once you dispute it, it's no longer in your credit score. So, and it does vary, but if you have multiple disputes and with some forms of financing, you're going to have to remove the dispute before, you can do it during the process to get your true score.
Okay.
Now, if you dispute accounts that now have a zero balance, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But if you have multiple disputes on accounts that have balances, we need to talk a little up front because you may need to remove or pay off some of those accounts.
And a lot of that's a really good point because a lot of what people have done, and I've done this years ago too, is everyone reaches out and they want credit repair.
Right.
And they want to pay someone hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars because now people say, I can fix your credit, I can get you qualified for all these things.
Yeah.
And really what they're doing is they're putting a little comment on your credit report that takes that account out of contention. So it's not being factored into your score.
It's in dispute now.
And it's in dispute. So what you said. So what happens is you as the lender, when someone says, hey, I ran my credit report, I now have a 700. You as the lender, you go run the report and you realize very quickly why they have a 700 because they have 10 accounts that are in dispute, which are not even.
They don't have zero balances.
They don't have zero balances.
They have to be looked
so
at.
at that point, usually there's a rapid rescore. That they clear up that dispute, and then usually we'll rescore it, right? And then the true score comes out at that point, which usually the reality is that credit repair service that they paid for really wasn't a repair at all. It was like a Band-Aid over something. So I think that's very good that you touched upon disputes.
Yeah.
Because I think honestly, when you go through credit repair companies, that's what a lot of them are doing. They're just putting accounts in dispute to take it to not have that account qualify into your score.
Yeah.
So that way it gives you the false impression that your score has miraculously gone up 50 points. So.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
true, and I would encourage anybody before they go to someone and pay them a monthly fee for us to talk first.
Yeah.
Lenders can pull up the same type of information and not charge you. I'm sure there's different companies that vary, but what I'm seeing is a lot of these places just go in and dispute everything.
Right.
And you're paying them a monthly fee for something that's of no value because if you truly owe it, they're going to
want their
they're
money.
not going to
They're gonna
remove
get
it. But it's not. Many of them are not really doing credit repair. They're just doing something that you could do for free anyway.
Absolutely. So we're going to get caught off in a few seconds here. So we want to reemphasize pre-approval. This is your guy. You don't have to be scared. Of course, he's going to look over your scenario individually. We talked a lot of numbers. Best way to go is to reach out to Mark, and we're going to send you an introductory email. We'll get a little bit into that process next and some more programs. So thanks, guys. It was great.
Cheers.
That was the first one. Let's do it.